Welcome back to the channel, and today we're starting with the Argo CD and GitOps and all these other things we'll talk about in this video. So if you've been following the DevOps Bootcamp, the links can be found in the description below. We already covered so many tools. We already covered like from scratch about containers, Docker, Kubernetes, networking, Linux, commands, and all these other things, right? And today we're talking about Argo CD and GitOps. So we'll be seeing what is Argo CD. We'll be seeing how to install it, how to work with it, see the nice little dashboard, and we'll see what is GitOps and why are we using Argo CD, what the architecture looks like, what is GitOps, how GitOps works, what are the various ways, and what are we doing with it, like basically why is it, what is the purpose, all these other things we'll be looking into. And obviously we'll also see like we'll also check out Datree, an example by Datree, how you can add some policies around Argo CD with the help of Datree that can help you prevent Kubernetes misconfigurations from reaching production. If you're new to Datree, I've done a ton of videos on that already. But yeah, let's get started. So before we get started, I want to give a huge shout out to the Argo CD community. The docs are just amazing, right? Everything you need to know can be found in this doc. And here you can see, if we talk about like what is Argo CD. So it's a declarative. So there's two things: imperative and declarative. Believe I pronounced that correctly. So it's a declarative GitOps continuous delivery tool for Kubernetes. Now, if you're new to this thing, you may be you may be asking me, what is this thing declarative? What is GitOps? What is continuous delivery? Kubernetes you already know because I've covered it. Okay, so let's look at it one by one. You know me, like I'm not going to skip any new terms that you may encounter so that you don't get lost in the tutorial. But declarative, what is declarative and what is imperative? So let's talk about imperative first. So for example, if I say, kubectl create a deployment, for example, right? Or even if I just create a YAML file for a deployment or a pod, I'm saying, hey, do this. So when you're giving this instruction to like Kubernetes, like I need these three resources, I need these three objects, specific individual resources type stuff, that when you're creating this thing, that is known as imperative. Declarative, on the other hand, now when I explain declarative, imperative will make more sense. Declarative, on the other hand, you can declarative, that you can do with the help of YAML files. So the point with declarative is that you actually define what your infrastructure should look like. Okay, you're like, hey, I need these two deployments, I need these many services and an ingress, I need these pods, they should have this file or this configuration or so on and so forth. You just put everything in a file and you will be like, okay, Kubernetes, take care of this. So defining everything in like a file and stuff, and that file that you have defined, I need this much amount of RAM, I need this much CPU, I need these many virtual machines spinning up or nodes spinning up or whatever. You have written it as an instruction in a file and stuff, and you're giving that, like, I want my infrastructure to look like this. Kubernetes, please do it for me. That is declarative. You're declaring it. You're like, okay, this is a declarative syntax, for example, or whatever. I don't know if syntax is the right word, but the declarative approach to go ahead with it. So imperative versus declarative, I hope that makes sense. So imperative now means that you're explicitly asking it to create individual resources, that I need you to make 5 pods or something like that. But in declarative, we're like, no, I'm not going to ask you to create individually 5 pods. I'll just give you a configuration file, something, YAML files, a set of YAML files. Whatever is listed on those YAML files, make that for me. Okay, so that is basically about it. So Argo CD is a declarative, means we'll be writing stuff in YAML files. Don't worry, I'll explain more about why we're using Argo CD and everything. And GitOps, continuous delivery tool. What is GitOps and what is continuous delivery? Okay, so I need you to understand like 3 terms: continuous integration, continuous delivery, and continuous deployment. So when code is deployed, there you're following some DevOps best practices and all these other things. So continuous integration, as you can see on the screen, it's actually a part of continuous delivery and deployment. So let's first understand what is continuous integration. So basically, when developers merge their changes in the branch, like, okay, I'm working on a feature and now this feature is complete, I'll merge it in the main branch. Your PR gets accepted and it gets merged in the main branch. So the changes that they have made that have been merged in the main branch, they are going to get validated and a build is going to be created and they're going to test it, right? Whether everything works fine or if the build is failing or is it, like working fine or whatever, right? So that's basically about it. When the tests are passing and stuff, then you merge your changes and it all looks good. Continuous delivery is just an extension of this. So continuous delivery basically means that it will deploy all the changes to the code that you have made to the testing or the production environment, right? Okay, so after the build happens, it will deploy it to testing or production environment, right? So automated testing is happening, and now you also have an automated release cycle. So you can just, with a click of a button, you can work on that. So this release thing that happens, you can decide it on your own. How often do you want this to happen? Weekly or monthly or whatever, according to your business. Now, continuous deployment, on the other hand, the thing that I mentioned about, like you can be like, okay, my weekly releases will happening or my release will be happening every month or whatever. So in continuous deployment, it's like continuous delivery only, but this release stuff that I'm talking about, that happens automatically. Very simple. All right, now let's look into GitOps. What is GitOps? So we have covered, what is declarative syntax and continuous delivery. And now let's see what is GitOps and how ArgoCD combines all of these 3-4 things together. So this is a great blog. You can go to gitops.tech. It's a really amazing resource. They have a free PDF also that you can take a look at, and they've explained everything. So here you can see that it's saying that GitOps is a way of implementing the continuous deployment for cloud native applications. We just covered continuous deployment, right? See, CI, CD and all these things, is nothing confusing over there. Okay, it's just the thing that I just mentioned. You make some code changes, the test happens, and the build happens, then the test happens, tests pass, code gets merged or whatever, and then you have to push it into the environments like production, staging, testing or whatever, right? And then you have to create releases. You know that projects have release numbers. In Kubernetes also we have like, release that happens, and there's the shadow program as well that you can take part in. A nice little, sharing some opportunities with you. So check that out. I've done a video on it already. Cool. So for cloud native applications, we can apply continuous deployment. Okay, so as you can see, it's focused more on the developer centric experience when operating infrastructure. Okay, with the help of tools that developers may already be familiar with, like Git and other continuous deployment tools. Okay, so when we talk about GitOps and how that, so we know, Kunal, that it is continuous deployment for cloud native applications. We know that, but what does it actually mean? So here is the idea, right? So in your Git repository, for example, you will have a Git repository. In that you will actually put all the things like, I want my infrastructure to look like this. Okay, this is what I want the desired state to look like. And it will have an automated process to make that happen. Okay, so if you want to deploy, let's say, a new application or update an existing one, you can update your Git repository, and the process that it automated, that will take care of everything else. Like, okay, Kunal is saying that Kunal wants his production environment to look like this. It should have this sort of like a deployment, this ingress, this services, this pod, and so many other things, this config map, or all these other things are mentioned. This is all the Kubernetes objects Kunal wants. This much RAM Kunal wants to allocate, these many nodes Kunal wants to create, so on and so forth. I will put that in a file, and Kunal will give that file to GitOps, and GitOps automates it and does it for you. Okay, so if you want to make any changes in your cluster and environment and stuff, just change your Git repository, and that automation will take place. Okay, how will that happen, Kunal? ArgoCD will do it. Okay, so it's a declarative GitOps continuous delivery tool for Kubernetes. All right, why we're using ArgoCD and everything we'll cover shortly, but just a little bit more about GitOps, how this thing actually happens, right? So this is pretty standard stuff that you can find online. It's pretty self-explanatory, like why should I use GitOps, right? You can deploy code faster, and you can see some amazing codes as well from folks and companies, and fast recovery and credential management and so on and so forth. So many things are mentioned over here, but that's fine. You can read on that, on gitops.tech or whatever. Cool. How it works. So as I mentioned previously, environment configurations as Git repository. You make a Git repository, put your configurations over there. It will make those happen in real time. this is what I wanted to focus on, and I want you to focus on this after you watch the video also. Push based versus pull based deployment. So these changes that are happening, how are they happening? Let's first take a look into push based deployment. So this particular thing till here before trigger is same for both. So you have your application Git repository, you make some changes into it, you trigger those changes, it sets a build pipeline, and it updates the image registry and your environment repository. That's fine. But from here, you want to make changes in your, like where the application is deployed, like production or whatever. Okay, so the push based deployment, what it does is that it triggers this pipeline, okay, the deployment pipeline, and it will then deploy it to the environment. Okay, so whenever you make this change in the environment repository, you will have to push it to the deployment pipeline. You're like, hey, deployment pipeline, some changes I have received, please apply those changes in production. Deployment, okay, cool. So now here is one thing I want to keep you in mind. 1 second. There was a quote around here for giving it access. 1 second. Yeah. So here you can see that this pipeline is responsible for applying all the files and everything in the environment repository to the infrastructure where the applications are actually deployed. Okay. So since it's actually responsible for working with the infrastructure, the pipeline has God mode enabled. So here, as you know, that it has God mode enabled or whatever, like so many permissions and stuff. So you have to work on the authorization part for this. Okay. So you have to have, like, if you're, for your cloud provider, for most restrictive deployment permissions, okay, like authorization control and all these things, you have to work over here. This is sort of like, why pull based deployments are sort of like preferred. So here you can see pull based approach should be preferred as it is considered to be more secure and thus better practice to implement GitOps. So now it makes sense what it means by more secure, how it actually happens. This entire thing will be same. This entire thing will be same. This particular thing is changed. Now instead of the repository telling the environment, the production, that hey, some changes have been made, please do it, the environment itself is now going to listen. It's automatically going to keep a check. Hey, environment repository or image repository, are there any changes to be made? It's going to be like, yeah, there's something that is changed to be made. So here you can see the current environment and the desired one that it will be seeing any change, it will make those changes. And not just with environment repository, it's also communicating with the images. So if you made any changes to your container images, it will automatically deploy that in the environment. So instead of this environment repository all the time telling, it's not now telling it, it's asking for it now. I hope that makes sense. So it's not now, environment repository is not pushing anything now to the production stuff. So here it was actually pushing. It's saying, hey, deployment pipeline, I'm giving you this data, please make your changes. Instead, now this deployment thing is asking environment repository, hey, I am on this version, do you have any new version in you? Environment repository will be like, yeah, we do. And then it's going to make all these changes. Okay. And with multiple applications, you can work on this branch-like structure, and this is just some FAQs. But this is fine, Kunal. How does this happen? This happens using an operator. When we talk about Kubernetes, in Kubernetes, we'll be using something known as controllers for this. So a controller is basically in the Kubernetes, the official documentation. There's a great example for this. So when you have thermostat in your house, right? So you set a particular temperature, like I want to be having only 25 degrees Celsius in my room temperature. So thermostat, what is it going to do? The desired state is always 25 degrees Celsius. So if the current is what? 21 degrees Celsius, it will increase the room temperature. If it is 30 degrees Celsius, it will decrease the room temperature. So this desired state is something that my controller will manage. And in ArgoCD, that is how it works basically. Cool. So this monitoring thing, like, okay, Kunal, any changes in the Git repository, anything happening, all these things ArgoCD takes care of. So can we say ArgoCD it works like a Kubernetes controller? Yes, we can say that it is a Kubernetes controller. Not like, it is. Okay, might be listed somewhere over here as well, but we'll go into it like line by line. Okay. So why ArgoCD? As we saw, we saw all the nice things GitOps offers. So you can see application definition, configuration environment should be declarative and version control. So you can see history also. So this is something that is now clear to you. And application deployment and lifecycle management, this should be automated and easy to understand. Cool. So how it works, you can see that it follows the GitOps pattern using the Git repository, and here we can just specify the desired application state and it will take care of the rest. Cool. And here you can see the sort of like the architecture, the PR gets merged and the events and everything is mentioned over here. This is what I wanted to mention, that it is implemented as a Kubernetes controller which continuously monitors running applications and compares the current state, live state against the desired target. That where is the desired target? In the Git repository. Okay, so I hope it is clear, the current state, live state and the desired state which is in the Git repository. Okay, so as you can see, out of sync is a target state. If a deployed application whose live state is different from the target state, it will be considered out of sync, and ArgoCD will sort of like put it in a nice little, visualize the differences for us, and it will automatically try to or manually try to sync it to the desired state that we want. Now you can just check out some of the features that it has. I don't think I have to go through these again and again, because we'll be seeing like it in a demo. So you can check it out over here, like such things we already mentioned, and rollbacks and monitoring with like Prometheus and stuff. You can add that as well. So we'll be learning about a lot of monitoring tools in this on the channel, and I like to give a brief overview like about individual tools so that you can compare those and see what are the benefits of one tools over the other. So we're starting with ArgoCD today, and we're doing more and more tools in the future. Right, that was it. Before without any further ado, let's just see a demo and get started with it and see how it works. Cool. If you need like a sort of like a glossary thing for all these concepts, so as you can see, application, we know what it is, target state, live state, sync status, refresh, health, tool, all these things are mentioned over here, some of the like concepts. Okay, so let's get started. You need kubectl installed, and you need the kubeconfig file, which is in .kube/config. You can see this over here, .kube/config. Here you have the kubeconfig file. I'll show you how to work with it in two ways. So first we'll install it on a local cluster. I have a simple Minikube cluster running, and the second I'll show you is working with like cloud providers. So I'll spin up ArgoCD in a cluster at in Civo. So exciting. All right, let's first see how to do it from scratch. Civo has a great marketplace. You can just click a button and it will do all these things for you. But just for learning purpose as well, I'll show you how to work with it in individual steps. So you can install it, but before installing, I'm going to create a namespace around it. So I'm going to create an ArgoCD namespace, and then I'm going to apply this. Cool. So basically it's creating a new namespace, ArgoCD, where all the ArgoCD services and application and the resources are there. So when we ran this command, it actually created so many objects and stuff. So few pods are running, service, few deployments around ArgoCD, oops, and replica sets and everything. Cool. If you want to see this file, the URL, it's over here. I just did a kubectl apply on this, and here you can see the file. So it has all these resources listed. So this is like the declarative way as well, right? You're declaring like, please make all these resources, and it's doing it. Okay. But here we'll do it in a much more nice way. We'll actually do it using CI/CD. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is, I'm on Mac, so I'm going to get the CLI. I'm just going to say brew install CLI. Okay, and here you can check out basically for Linux and WSL. Okay, for Windows basically. Okay, and for brew for Mac, it's just brew install ArgoCD. We'll work on Civo Kubernetes later on. So if I just show you, you can create a cluster, and in the marketplace you can select, in CI/CD you can select ArgoCD over here. Okay, we'll talk more about that later. Okay, so that is done, and when we did this thing, you can see ArgoCD has some it has some pods and everything running. So by default, this API server that we have running for ArgoCD, it is not exposed for us to access on an external API, for example. Okay, so what we're going to do is first, if I just go check this out over here, right? So here what I'm going to do is that we are going to basically change the ArgoCD server. Let me do one thing. I'm going to spin up my Lens IDE. Lens makes it very easy for me because I don't like writing, like commands again and again when I'm explaining stuff. So highly recommend you to check out. Hi, are you attending KubeCon? Yes, I am gonna RSVP. I'll update this later on. All right. KubeCon is coming up. I'm excited for it. Home, I have Minikube running, connecting it to Minikube. Lovely. See, I can see all the overview. 6 pods running, but oh, 1 second, no. I have to select Argo CD. Nice. 7 pods running. These are all the things running in Argo CD. It's basically the same thing as this. So services and 7 pods running, 7 pods running. Same thing, right? But this way I can basically, check it and everything. All right. So I just want to go into my overview and I'm going to check where are my services? It's in my network services. There we go. We check out Argo CD server. Okay. Let me check Argo CD server. And where do I get the file for this? Edit. There we go. Argo CD server. And this is the file for the Argo CD server. And if this service type, what is the service type? Type is cluster IP. Okay, so I'm going to change this to load balancer. Okay, I'm going to change this to load balancer. Okay, you can either make changes on here or you can run this command, the patch command from kubectl. So I want to change this Argo CD server service and I want to change the spec type to load balancer. So spec type I want to change to load balancer. Apply. It is updated. So now you can see this is automatically changed. I love Lens. Okay, it's just amazing. Really helps me, apply the changes and like visualize the changes, and also it's just great. Just check it out. I've done a video on this already. All right. Now what we're gonna do? We're gonna port forward it. Okay. Now you can either port forward using this link, this button over here, and you'll be able to access it in your local host. So basically what it's doing is that I'm going to have the port this 443. It's going to forward it to somewhere. Okay, random. So you can either start it like this. And let me go to the port random that it has started. Show details, view this website. There we go. Ta-da! Very simple. But let me teach you how to work with just like the port forward command. Also, you can do it something like this. If you are not aware about like port forwarding and everything, I've covered it in my Kubernetes video. So make sure you check it out. Localhost 8080. Show details. Visit. Awesome. Working. Cool. So now you can access it. Now, how do we log in it? What is the username? So the initial password that we have over here, that is auto-generated. Okay. So how do we get that? So Kunal, where do we get this? So this is basically admin. But initially what happens is that in the Argo CD namespace that we created, it's going to generate a password for us automatically in a secret. So in Kubernetes, there's another resource type called secrets where you can store your passwords and all these other things like secret stuff, as the name suggests. And how do we get that? So obviously you can go over here in configuration, secrets, and I just had it open over here, this one, Argo CD initial admin secret, this one. So you have to provide this in base 64, and what we can do is you can either convert this in base 64 or you can get like via the CLI also. Let's try to get the same thing via the CLI. So this is a command that you can use. I'm gonna in the namespace Argo CD, I want to get the secret, this one. and the output I can just give for the JSON path .data.password. There you go. Okay, but I need this in base 64, so I can just add base 64. Okay, so in the end I can just add base 64. It's giving some percentage. I can just add echo. There we go. This is my password. So now I can log in it, sign in. Not now. Awesome. This is a nice little dashboard. Very nice. Now we can explore. This is one of many videos that I'll do on, like, I'll do much more videos on like ArgoCD with other tools as well. And but yeah, I mean, so far so good, right? We have the dashboard running in Kubernetes, and I'm accessing it via port forwarding on localhost. Very nice. One thing, that this secret that was created, you can change your password, highly recommend it, and then delete this secret. Okay, it's only required for the it's only required for your initially when you set up. Okay, you can also use the ArgoCD login command. You can directly log in via the CLI also. Okay, cool. But Kunal, this is empty. What do we do? You can create a new application, and you can connect a cluster, for example. So let's see how we can do that. Okay, so you can also log in via the Argo CLI. You can you can check out the commands and stuff. So you can log into it, ArgoCD login, log out. You can do all sorts of things. You can also do something like cluster, so you can add a cluster. So basically this is useful when your cluster is something different from the cluster in which ArgoCD is deployed. So in our case, it's ArgoCD deployed in same cluster, so we can just use the default service, right? Cool. Okay, and over here also you can do one more thing, app. So you can create an app via the CLI as well. So check out the CLI documentation. Everything is available over there. But this isn't so. For example, in the initially I mentioned when we talk about GitOps, you need a Git repository, right? And it can work with like Helm and customize and all these other things to provide the declarative syntax that I can actually give it to like Argo, like, hey Argo, please do it for me. Okay, so here you have some customize and Helm examples and all these other things. So I'm going to use this repository only. And if you want to do it via the CLI, you can do ArgoCD app create. I can say guest book, and then I can give the repo like that. Okay, cool. And then you can give the path to it and stuff like that. Okay, so let's see what all things it's asking. If we try to do the same thing, let's say via the UI, so I can just give it a general name, and I can say guest book, default, that's fine, manual, that's okay, repository URL, there we go, head, that's fine, path, I can just say Helm guest book, this one. Okay, and in the destination, the cluster URL, this one. So basically this is what I was mentioning previously. When you are adding clusters, since Argo is installed in the same one, so I can use this, and if it's installed in like a different cluster, for that you would have to add a cluster also. Default namespace only, let's do default namespace, and this is fine. I can just click on, I think that looks good, just click on create. Okay, so before clicking on create, the same thing we can do via the CLI also. So in the CLI I can add this path. Where is my path? Application name is added, and this Helm guest book, right? I can add this as a path over here. Like that. and then I can add the destination server, this cluster URL. I can add a, these all things are given in the documentation, so you can check it out. Server added, and I think that looks good, right? No, namespace also. Destination namespace, like that. This is a command you need, but I'm just going to go ahead and click on create, and there we go. Here we see what is happening. So here you can see the status, out of sync 1, and all the information is available over here. So this is basically out of sync from this commit that is mentioned over here. Okay, out of sync 1 and app details, as you can see, everything is given over here, the difference as well, and manifest file, events, what happened 34 seconds ago, and all these resources got created and everything. Okay, so this guest book, now you can see this is a basically a the Git repository, and all the details it has given for us, like, hey, this Git repository that you're using in your cluster currently, this is out of sync. Okay, you can use the command ArgoCD app sync guest book. It's going to sync it, or I can just click on this button, sync it, right? So I can just say synchronize. That looks good. It's now synced. It's progressing. It's checking the health of it, but now it's in sync with what we did before. It's going to take a little bit of a time. Let's see how that goes. Okay, so what this thing is doing is it's actually taking all the manifest files from the Git repository, and internally it's just doing kubectl apply. Okay, so as you can see now it's healthy, all green. Cool. So pretty straightforward stuff. Don't worry much about what is going internally in these individual applications. The tutorial is not about the guestbook application. The tutorial is about ArgoCD. Okay, so you can see what happened in ArgoCD, and you can see the history as well. Sync status, you can see it's working fine. It was just synced, and app details and history and rollback and all these other things. Okay, everything is mentioned over here. Cool. Right, so that was about it. All right, so that's how you can work with ArgoCD. Let me now show you how you can go ahead and work with it with when you talk about Civo. Launch your cluster. I can say demo and default firewall, medium. I can select Cilium, and I can do CI/CD ArgoCD, create cluster. In just under 90 seconds or something, and even less than that, your cluster will be created, and then we can work with that. Cool. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna add it to my Lens cluster, right? I'm gonna go to home. I'm gonna add kube config. I'm gonna add the cluster demo. One cool thing about Lens is you don't need to have two terminals now open. I can just get into the terminal via this command, via this like button. Now I'm in the Civo terminal. Three nodes, looks good. And in the Argo CD namespace, you can see it's creating pods and stuff. 7 pods are being created. 7 were created in my Minikube also. Same thing is happening over here. I did not have to run any command, just one click, Civo did it for me. Okay. After that, all the things we did previously, you can do it in this also. Let me show you how easy it is. Let me show you. So it's just running, it's starting up. Let's make that happen. Right. And let's see how that happens. Cool. So this is running. Did I do anything right now? No. I just created some nice little from the nice little UI that Civo provides. I just selected Argo CD. That's it. Nothing else. created a namespace for me, all the other files and everything, all the other objects and everything created. What was the next thing we did in the previous tutorial? Port forwarding, networking, services, which one did we do? Argo CD server. This one, Argo CD server. Yes. Port forward. Nice. This is the local host. That's it. Nothing needs to be done. Okay, all the commands we ran previously and everything, no need. And with Lens, no command needed either. Just close the terminal here. Okay, and now the secrets will have my secret. Where is my secret? Storage, no, not storage. Configuration secret, single sign one, initial admin secret, this one. Okay, using this command as we did previously. Here we have our password, admin password sign in. Not now. Oh, 1 second, I did not have the right password. Copy. Yeah, that works. Yeah, now it's good. Not now. That's it. Simple. Okay, you can create a new app just like we did previously. All the things we did previously, you can do it now. How awesome was that? So yeah, utilize such platforms, and there's an amazing marketplace provided in Civo. You can check it out. Here's the marketplace. All the amazing tools you can find over here in just one simple click. Okay, so now in the two examples, we saw that all the Argo CD resources that were created, they were created in the Argo CD namespace. Okay, so when we talk about the declarative setup, okay, and when you have to provide some Kubernetes like objects and stuff, make it like be usable by Argo CD, then you have to add some labels to it. So for example, if you create a config map resource, you have to add a label, this one, a part of Argo CD, so that Argo CD should be use it. You should be able to use it. If you don't add it, then Argo CD will not be able to use it. Okay, Argo CD is not going to recognize it. So for example, if I create a resource, let's say config map only, config map. So here right now Argo CD will not be able to recognize it. But when I add something like this, now Argo CD will be able to recognize it. So if I don't add this, how would I know that it does not cause issue in my production? This comes into picture Datree. Okay, so Datree is a CLI tool that is used to prevent Kubernetes misconfigurations from reaching production. I've done a video on this already, but just to show you how easy it is to get started, I'll create a new account, continue with GitHub, it's loading my profile. Cool. I already have it installed, but still I'll just show you for demo purpose. I'll configure the CLI. I'll set my token. Token is something you can find in the, in your profile. I'll just add my token. So this token is basically, I've covered this in the videos itself. Whatever changes you make via this dashboard when it comes to policies and rules, it will be automatically reflected here in your CLI. It all connects it via this token. I'm going to test the basic demo file that it has. I'm going to test it. Okay, here it will show the history of my checks. So you can see 4 checks are failing, 4 rules are failing. In the history, it has showed 4 rules are failing. Okay, I've done a video on this in detail, how you can create your own rules as well. I have created. Okay, so they have this category now called Argo, in which you have all the Argo rules. I'm just going to turn on everyone. Okay, or just let me just turn on one for now. Ensure that config map is recognized by Argo CD. Okay, so incorrect value of part of value should be Argo CD. If I add any incorrect value, it will give an error. And that's basically how Datree comes into picture. Okay, so I'm going to copy this and I'm going to add labels like that. Cool. And here I'm just going to add Kunal for now, so that this check fails. When I do the Argo check, it'll be like, hey, this should be Argo CD, but you are adding Kunal. Argo will not recognize this config map. It's an, it will give me, the rule will fail. So as you can see, this particular line is required. So I'm just going to copy this and I'm going to create a config.yaml file. And inside that, I'm just going to paste this. So what is the rule? So here you can see the rule is saying that if I'm using the Argo policy, let's run this test against the Argo policy. So Datree test -p Argo. So total 10 checks were running, 10 rules were running. That is true. I have all the 10 Argo ones that are currently active and one is failing. Which one is failing? Oh, sorry. Right now 0 is failing because it's fine because here it's saying that ensure config map is recognized by ArgoCD. So in order for config map to be recognized by ArgoCD, I have to add this label. I have added this label. That is correct. Let's check it again. So that's why no rule is failing. If you check in the history, no rule is failing because I have added this. Here, I have added this. But if I try to change it, let's try to make this rule failing. Let's try to fail this rule. Okay. If I either change this or I change the name from ArgoCD, when I run it again, now let's see, it should fail. Now it's failing. It's saying, hey, ensure that config map is recognized by ArgoCD. Kunal, you have set some incorrect value for this. The value should be ArgoCD or this is incorrect. Yeah, you are correct. That's why it's failing. Okay, so this particular line should be correct. Okay, if you do something like the key is correct, the key is correct, but the value is wrong, this will also fail. It should be like this. Okay, now when I run it again, all the checks will pass. Very cool, right? Awesome. Similarly, there are so many Argo checks that you can use, right? I've just showed you an example for this, but in Datree you can add around 10. You can also create your own custom policy with custom rules. I have made a video on that already. Make sure you check out the DevOps Bootcamp playlist or the Cloud Native Tools Deep Dive playlist. That was sort of like a real world example of how you can use Datree to prevent Kubernetes misconfigurations and also make some nice little checks for your Argo, to make sure that the resources will be accessible and usable by Argo using Datree. It's extremely nice. And now, in your CI/CD, you don't want to have like red tests failing and all these other things, right? When you're working with ArgoCD, so Datree will help, ensure that it does not happen like that. Okay, so you can see so many rules are available over here that you can check out. Cool. And you can also check out the documentation, I believe. In the documentation, if you go to quick start and you click on Argo, so all these 10 rules that I just showed you, here's the documentation for that. Okay, documentation for rollouts and everything, how to fix it is also available. That was pretty much about ArgoCD and how you can work with it. And yeah, if you enjoyed this video, like, share and subscribe. And if you want to see some prerequisites to these videos, introduction to K8s and all these other things, make sure you check out the DevOps Bootcamp playlist. And yeah, do share about it on socials if you learned it, so that other folks can also take part and learn about the new tools that, all the tools that we're learning on the channel. And all the links to all these resources that I discussed in this video will be found in the description below. As a next step, just explore, try it out yourself, try to run various policies, write a blog on it, share about it. You can tag the tools that you're using. You can tag Datree, you can Argo, and we learned about Lens, and we also used Civo. So you can, share your learnings, and that's pretty much about it. And yeah, just learn in public, try to, try out new things, experiment now, and I'll see you in the next one. Have a great day.